Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our last episode, we discussed how Rimuru's forces in the labyrinth completely annihilated nearly 530,000 soldiers of the Eastern Empire's armored division, achieving a resounding victory. The Empire's commander, Kalgurio, eventually adjusted his strategy, sending an elite squad for a renewed assault on the labyrinth. Meanwhile, the Labyrinth Guardians had each selected their own adversaries, preparing to deliver another crushing blow to the Empire. In this episode, we delve into the individual battles of the great mage Gadra, the immortal King Adalman, and the insect queen Apito. Let's get started. The guardian of the 70th floor of the labyrinth was White King Adalman. About 100 soldiers were dispatched to this level, and unlike the disorganized troops before, they quickly set up a camp and a stronghold. They even sent out scouts to search for survivors. Rimuru couldn't help but admire the professionalism of these soldiers. Even without their commander, they maintained composure, truly the cream of the crop. Rimuru agreed, noting their excellence but also pointing out the futility of their search. With a tinge of pity in his voice, Rimuru remarked that the floor's intruders had already been annihilated, leaving no trace behind in this realm of the undead. With no clues to be found, Rimuru decided not to let the new arrivals rest easy. He ordered Adalman to eradicate all the invaders. Inspired by Rimuru's watchful eye, Adalman eagerly led his undead army in a surprise attack on the Empire's elite squad, initiating a fierce battle. The clash of the undead and the soldiers was a cacophony of clashing swords and exploding spells, turning the battlefield into a veritable hell on earth. Among these Empire warriors, there were a few who caught Rimuru's attention. They were engaging Adalman, the undead dragon, and Albert in intense combat, donning legendary armors that shone brilliantly. Particularly noteworthy was a handsome swordsman who displayed a rare divine swordsmanship technique that even Hakura found astonishing. His superior equipment seemed to give him an edge in the battle. The Empire's female mage and a bulky warrior, though less conspicuous than the swordsman, held their own in the fight with Adalman and the undead dragon, creating a deadlock. After an hour of brutal fighting, the Empire's rank and file fell alongside the undead army, leaving only the 3-on-3 confrontation. The situation grew tense even for Rimuru in the command center. Diablo calmly pointed out Adalman's eagerness to prove himself was leading to a stalemate, warning that if Albert were to fall, the situation could rapidly deteriorate. Rimuru agreed, citing the disparity in weaponry as a potential factor in their defeat. To Rimuru's concern, Diablo reassured that with Zegion, Veldora's disciple, guarding the labyrinth, there was no need to worry. Rimuru also expressed his readiness to join the battle if necessary. As Rimuru digested their conversation, the fight on the battlefield intensified towards a climax. The three Imperial powerhouses revealed their identities during the fight. They were part of the elite 100 Imperial Guardians. They were Krishna, the dashing swordsman ranked 17th, Bizan, the burly warrior ranked 35th, and Reha, the enchanting female mage ranked 94th. A fierce battle ensued. Krishna, unleashing a powerful aura, launched an assault on Albert. Albert managed to block the initial attack with his sword, but his weapon, the unique Great Sword of Curse, started to crack under the pressure of Krishna's legendary weapon. Krishna seized this opportunity, launching a series of swift strikes. The Sword of Curse, riddled with scars, shattered under Krishna's final, forceful blow. This marked a turning point in the battle. Albert, disarmed, was quickly defeated. As this front collapsed, Adalman and the undead dragon soon faced defeat under the combined assault of the three Imperial Guardians. Thus, for the first time, Rimuru's side tasted defeat. Rimuru remained calm, ensuring Adalman's revival before turning his attention to other floors of the labyrinth. On the 59th floor, the former great mage of the Empire, Gadra, was set to persuade Lucius and Raymond, also from another world like Shinji Tanemura. They had always revered Gadra as their mentor, who taught them survival in this world upon their arrival. Following Gadra's disappearance after his visit to the Monster Federation with Shinji's group, Lucius and Raymond had joined the army covertly, hoping to gather information about their mentor and friends. Shortly after entering the labyrinth, Lucius and Raymond came to a grim realization about its unconquerable nature. Even with daily progress, it would take them weeks to clear the labyrinth, and food supplies would be inadequate. Despite the sense of despair, they didn't give up, driven by their goal to gather information about their mentor and friends. Determined, they quickly broke through the 59th floor and began descending to the 60th, only to be startled by a familiar voice, their mentor Gadra's, emanating from a towering elemental colossus, suggesting a discussion. Amid their confusion, Shinji's trio, whom they had intended to rescue, emerged from the enemy's side of the labyrinth, leaving Lucius and Raymond in utter shock. Gadra's voice from the colossus then urged them to calm down and grasp the full picture. Amidst the sudden turn of events and after mutual recognition, Gadra and his companions initiated their persuasive plan. They intended to recruit Lucius and Raymond to join the Monster Federation and serve under Rimuru-sama. The persuasion process was incredibly straightforward, as Lucius and Raymond's primary objective was to save their friends, who were already part of the Monster Federation. Naturally, they had no qualms about joining and quickly accepted the proposal. Thus, Lucius and Raymond became allies, joining Gadra's ranks within the Monster Federation. At that same moment, on another battlefield within the labyrinth, a far more brutal battle was unfolding. On the 78th floor, Major Minitz, clad in his prize uniform, was strolling through the maze with ease. In his view, war should be about overwhelming the enemy with superior force, aiming for victory without battle, and certainly without the loss of one's own soldiers. His doubt in their commander's abilities was inevitable. Despite his constant grumbling, Minitz felt a surge of excitement about the mission. As a born noble, he rarely had the opportunity to engage in frontline combat, leaving his warrior spirit unfulfilled. The thought of causing chaos here filled him with delight. Thus, Minitz moved through the maze as if traversing a desolate wilderness, swatting away swarms of giant insects while searching for the entrance to the next level. He muttered under his breath about his distaste for bugs, finding their crawling unsettling. With a simple sweep of his arm, a whirlwind erupted, disintegrating the pouring insects into dust. This was the effect of his unique skill, Oppressor, a power fundamentally based on controlling gravitational forces. Minitz could transform psychological oppression into physical pressure, using the gravitational pull of massive celestial bodies to exert specific directional forces on targets within his line of sight. This force could cause displacement, spatial compression, or even explosions. Thus, anywhere Minitz's gaze fell, he could launch an attack without warning. His undefeated record owed much to this formidable power, which even now effortlessly crushed the assassin wasp swarms hiding at the entrance to the 79th floor. Looking down at the dead wasps with disdain, Minitz yearned for stronger opponents, mocking the trivial monsters as unworthy adversaries. As he trod over the insect carcasses with contempt, his arrogance enraged the insect queen Apito, who had been orchestrating the battle from the shadows. Facing Apito, Minitz's arrogance remained undiminished, expecting her to show more prowess than the previous insects. As Minitz's words concluded, the battle between the two erupted instantaneously. Relying on his unique skill, Oppressor, Minitz initiated the attack, intending to crush his opponent outright. However, Apito, having keenly observed her opponent's tactics and utilizing her own high mobility, elegantly evaded Minitz's assault. It almost seemed as if she was mocking Minitz's attempts, her speed increasing progressively, making it difficult for even Minitz, with his magic sense, to keep up with her movements. Far from being panicked, Minitz was exhilarated. To him, only such challenging battles relieved the tedium of war. In the next moment, Minitz unleashed his ability to its full extent, creating a wide-ranging force field centered around himself. To block Apito's escape, he steadily closed in. The narrow corridors of the labyrinth left Apito without any opportunity to launch an effective attack. Left with no choice, Apito decided to strategically retreat to a more spacious area, planning to continue the battle in a larger hall. Minitz, observing Apito's retreat, pursued her closely. After a brief chase, they finally arrived at an expansive area, Apito's Queen's Hall. With a tone of disdain, Minitz remarked that their game of hide-and-seek was finally over, to which Apito, upholding her dignity as the insect queen, declared she would go all out to properly host Major Minitz. Both Major Minitz and Insect Queen Apito, filled with anticipation, focused intently and commenced the second round of their intense battle. Minitz initiated the attack, gradually accelerating and increasingly matching Apito's speed, commencing a pursuit. Apito, not to be outdone, constantly shifted her form in midair, accelerating her pace while nimbly seeking opportunities to strike. However, her maneuvers were within the range of Minitz's suppressor ability. With a roar, Minitz unleashed the full force of his skill, creating an invisible force field near the dome-shaped ceiling that brutally slammed Apito against it. A sound of impact was heard as Apito, unable to withstand the blow, spat blood. Observing Apito's pained expression, Minitz let out a sneer. He lamented his desire to crush Apito instantly but acknowledged her exceptional strength. As he approached Apito, his gravitational field's pressure intensified with proximity, meaning if he got close enough, even a formidable monster like Apito would be crushed. Reveling in this thought, Minitz concentrated all his power on Apito, feeling a surge of joy at the prospect of defeating such a formidable opponent, and declared his intention to grant her a painless death as a token of gratitude. Apito, however, under the intense pressure, vowed to exert her full strength. With a loud cry, she miraculously broke free from the crushing force and took to the air again. Despite her broken wings and twisted limbs, the intense desire for victory in her eyes remained undiminished. This battle was under Rimuru's watchful eye, and regardless of any embarrassment or pain, her duty was to expose the enemy's tactics, strengthening her resolve. Realizing Apito's intent to understand his power, Minitz resolved to kill her before she could fully grasp his abilities. Declaring this, he once again generated a force field centered around himself, aiming to pin Apito back against the wall. Conversely, Apito moved with a speed that defied Minitz's comprehension, following Hinata's teachings, constantly seeking openings to strike Minitz, sometimes firing poison darts from blind spots, other times flapping her wings to emit shock waves of light. After several hours of intense combat, the battle reached a stalemate. Apito, with broken arms and most of her army wasps incapacitated, and Minitz, whose high-grade uniform was torn beyond recognition, were both so fatigued that even standing was a struggle. In this dire situation, Apito, hovering in the air, made a final declaration. While acknowledging Minitz's formidable combat skills, she declared Minitz wasn't invincible and vowed that her next attack would be his demise. Despite his exhaustion, Minitz's eyes still sparkled with anticipation. In response, he too promised his next strike would grant Apito her release. Subsequently, both parties unleashed their full power in a reckless assault. Apito rapidly dove towards Minitz, who, undeterred, timed his power perfectly. Yet, Apito had anticipated this, instantly altering her trajectory in mid-assault, though not completely evading the attack. This slight evasion was enough for Minitz to track her movement. In that instant, Minitz knew he had won. But Apito, even in the face of death, remained undisturbed, her attack being predicated on her own demise. Sensing the enveloping force around her, Apito unleashed her most potent venomous needle. The outcome was mutual destruction. Apito's body shattered, dissolving into a beam of light that vanished, while Minitz's heart was pulverized by the assault. Yet Minitz did not perish. At his level, a mortal wound was trivial and would heal over time. Minitz's eyes gleamed with satisfaction and greed for more such thrilling experiences. His very being craved more intense battles. It was then that a regal voice resonated through the air.
An impressive battle. My name is Zegion, and you've earned the right to fight me. If that is your desire, come forth.
With these words, a black vortex suddenly appeared before Minitz. Unconcerned about his unhealed body and driven by a voracious desire for more brutal combat, Minitz stood up and fearlessly stepped forward towards the vortex. Alright, that's all for this video. In the next episode, we will continue with the exciting battles of Zegion and Kamara. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support fuels my continued efforts. See you in the next one.